Morning, everyone. So as always, anything that you need that you feel like will help support your practice this morning, go ahead and have that with you. So it can be a blanket, it can be a bolster, it can be pillows, it can be yoga blocks, anything that is going to help support your practice this morning and make you feel more comfortable. So we'll start in a seated position. And as I always say, any seated position. So maybe your legs are crossed, maybe they're out in front of you. And I invite you to move around a little bit. Just kind of start to check in and tune in. Notice what's happening in the body, especially as the weather changes. You might notice yourself feeling more open or tighter, or just new aches and pains or new abilities that you might not have had in the colder months. So just noticing that. And you can start to settle into a little bit of stillness. If at any point your body is calling for something that's different than what I'm offering, feel free to listen and take it. So if being completely still right now is just not feeling comfortable in your body, you can keep a little bit of movement. You can close your eyes or soften the gaze. Let your arms be wherever's comfortable. And start to check in with your breath. And just feel the inhales and the exhales and move around your body. And perhaps the breath just naturally begins to lengthen on its own. I invite you to use your breath as an anchor today. If you feel yourself getting distracted or pulled away from your practice by things going on around you at home or things going on outside, I invite you to just come back to the breath, just noticing your inhale and exhale. Let's find just 2 more breaths while we're here. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed, but just go ahead and straighten your legs if they're not already. And you can take them a little wide And just rock out the feet. Kind of just check in with the backs of the legs. If keeping your legs really straight is just not comfortable, you can always slide something underneath the knees. It will still stretch the backs of the legs. It just gives you a little bit more support. So from here, we're just going to lean forward. So we're just starting to warm up the body. Just check in. And you can feel the spine rounding and try to relax the feet. So taking a little bit more of that yin approach here, which is just trying not to actively bring yourself into anything and just allow gravity to keep you where you land. And just start to walk the hands over to the right leg. So it doesn't matter how far you get to the right leg. It doesn't matter how wide the legs are. Just adding a little bit of a twist, a little bit of a side stretch on the left side. And then walk your hands back to the middle and over to the left. Just one more breath. And then come back to the middle and start to lift yourself all the way up. You can go ahead and cross your legs. Maybe find the opposite cross. So if you had started in that seat and one leg was in front, try to go the other way. It'll feel a little awkward. But just kind of switching up your habits a little bit and let the fingertips come by your side. Really grow the spine long and tall and reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And then release the arms down. Reach the arms all the way up. Inhale, grow tall. And exhale, release them down. One more. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up. And release the arms down. Roll the shoulders. And start to make your way onto your hands and your knees. So coming into a tabletop position. So you can always add a little bit of extra support underneath the knees by just throwing a blanket under there or rolling up your mat. And when you get to that tabletop position, take a little movement, any movement. So maybe it looks more like cat-cows, rounding and arching the back. Maybe you go a little bit side to side. Just a couple more breaths. And start to find a nice neutral tabletop position. So as you come into that neutral tabletop, almost feel like you're hugging the belly button into the spine. So keeping a little subtle engagement through the core. If at any point being on your palms like this is just not comfortable, you can always drop down to your forearms, take a little bit of pressure off the hands. But I want you to continuously find that hugging the belly button into the spine action. That's going to keep the core nice and strong. And really feel what it feels like to be really active here. So feel like you're pressing the floor away. Hug the belly button in. Really reach the crown of your head forward. And then extend your right leg back. So just keep the toes curled under like you're in a half plank. And then press the heel back. Just a little subtle stretch in the back of the leg. Never remember to stretch our calves. Really good to stretch them. And then start to lift the leg up hip height. So really press the floor away. So this is where that engagement and that action can come in really strong. So that way you're balancing, and you know the floor is right there, so you can always tap the toes down at any point. And then if it feels okay, reach the left arm forward, like you're reaching through the fingers and the toes. Again, the floor is right there. Really press the floor away. Feel that lift. Holding steady can feel way more challenging than moving. Take one more breath. Release the hand down, release the knee down, and let's press your hips back to your heels, coming into a child's pose. Remember, if your body needs something different than what I'm offering, feel free to ignore me and listen to what your body needs. So if child's pose doesn't work for you today, find someplace else where you can pause. Take one more breath. You'll come back to that tabletop position. You can move around a little bit when you get there if you want some cat-cows. And then start to find that nice, strong, powerful tabletop. So really feel like you're pressing the floor away. Hug the belly button into the spine, really setting yourself up here. And then go ahead and extend the left leg back. And you can keep the toes hooked under to start. Press back through the heel, get a nice stretch through the back of the leg. And start to lift the leg up hip height. So really feeling that engagement through the back of the leg. And again, the floor is right there. You'll start to feel your balance shift a bit. And then maybe try reaching the right arm forward. So it's opposite arm, opposite leg. Your sides are going to feel totally different. So try to forget what happened on the last side. Reach through the fingers and toes. Feel like you're the rope in a tug of war and you're being pulled in either direction. Use your breath. One more. Release the hand down, release the knee down. And once again, we'll pause in child's pose or anything you need to pause. Just one more breath here. And you'll start to find your way back to your tabletop position, but just for a moment, because you're going to curl the toes under and lift the hips up and back to your downward dog, coming into that upside down V. Take anything you need when you get to your down dog. So you can pedal at the feet. And know that coming back to tabletop is always available. Then just start to walk the hands and the feet towards each other. Maybe landing somewhere in the middle of your mat. Coming into a forward fold. Release the head and the neck. Your fingertips can rest on your legs, or maybe they reach the floor. And then start to press into your feet. Bring your hands to the tops of your knees. Take a little bend into your knees and rise all the way up to stand. Growing really tall, really long. And you can reach the arms up to the sky, stretch it tall, and take a lean over to the right. And come back to the middle and over to the left. Come back to the middle, release the arms. Roll the shoulders. And just take a moment and really find your footing. So really feel the feet connected to the floor. Feel yourself grow nice and tall and long. So one more breath here. And step your right foot all the way to the back of your mat. So your left foot is going to stay forward. And then I want you to turn all the way to the right side of the mat. So all 10 toes are facing towards the side of the mat. Your feet are really wide. And notice for a moment how that changes kind of what you have to activate to stay, because your feet aren't as close together anymore. And then turn your right toes to the back of the room, back of your mat, and bend into the right knee. So you can keep your hands on your hips, but we're going to take that a couple of times. So straighten the leg, and then bend the knee, straighten, and bend. One more, straighten, and bend. And this time we're going to working toward you bend into the front knee. It almost feels like you want to pull the feet apart. But what I actually want you to do is feel like as the feet press down, they're trying to hug towards each other. Your leg doesn't have to be crazy bent to feel your body working here. Just one more breath. Straighten the front leg. Keep feeling that rooting with the feet, and reach your right arm all the way up to the sky, stretching through the whole right side of the body. Your head and neck can be wherever's comfortable. One more breath. Bring the arms all the way back to a T. Relax the arms. Turn all 10 toes back to the side of the mat. And pause. Refine that footing. Take a breath. And then turn your left toes towards the short edge of your mat. Your hands can be on your hips. And then we're going to bend the knee, bend the left knee, and straighten the leg. So you see how you have to press into the foot to straighten that leg. So go ahead and bend the knee. and straighten. Bend the knee. And straighten. And then you're gonna bend the knee and hold the knee. So you can also remember, play with the width of the legs. Maybe you're too narrow and you feel like you have a little bit more space. Maybe you're too wide. And bring your arms up to a T and let the gaze come over your left fingertips. And again, even though it feels like you're trying to pull the feet apart, feel like they're trying to hug towards each other. Use your breath to hold you. One more. Straighten your left leg and then reach your left arm up to the sky, stretching through the whole left side of the body. Use your breath. Notice your inhales and exhales. Last one. Bring your arms all the way back to a T. Turn all 10 toes to the long edge of your mat and relax the arms. Take a moment here. And then start to heel toe the feet a little bit closer together. So think like your feet are trying to be hip width apart now. Find that rooting again in the bottoms of the feet and reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And release the arms down. One more. Reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And release the arms down. You can walk the feet a little bit closer together and then start to turn back towards the top of your mat. Feel yourself grow nice and strong, nice and tall. Reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And start to bring your hands to your heart center and then sit your hips back like you're going to sit into a chair, but there's not a chair behind you. So remember that. It doesn't matter how deep you go, but I want you to feel your belly hug into your spine. Feel that activation. Feel the rooting in the bottom of your feet. Take one more breath. Maybe sink a little bit lower. And then bring the fingertips towards the floor. Release the head and the neck. Come into that forward fold. And start to bring the hands to the ground and make your way back to your down dog. So you might just walk the hands a little forward and walk the feet a little back. Release the knees to the ground. Take the knees wide as it feels comfortable this morning and right now. And sink your hips back to your heels for child's pose. One more breath here. And then you'll start to bring yourself back towards that tabletop position. Reach your right leg behind you, just like we did at the very beginning. But then this time, bring the knee in towards the nose. Feel like you're rounding the spine, coming towards that cat. And then start to step your right foot up between your hands. So it's okay if it takes a couple of steps to get there. And then start to bring your hands to the top of your knee. And then lift yourself up. Now your legs aren't in the same position, so you might feel a little wobbly at first. So really find the rooting in the bottom of the foot. And again, feel like you're trying to hug the legs towards each other, even though they're apart. That's actually going to help with your stability and also just activating the muscles in your legs. Just one more breath here. And bring the hands to the floor, but this time bring your hands on the inside of the foot and walk your foot a little bit out. So just creating a little bit more width. And allow the hips to get a little heavier, like you're really trying to sink the hips to the floor. Keep hugging your right knee in towards your right arm, coming into this lizard pose. We're not going to stay for too long, just one more breath. And then allow the hips to get a little less heavy, so that way you can bring the right foot back to meet the left. You can take a couple of moments when you get here, any movement you need. And then extend the left leg back. Bring the knee to the nose, round the spine, and then start to bring the foot up between your hands. It doesn't matter how many steps it takes to get there. Walk the hands up the leg. Allow the hips to get a little heavy as they shift forward. Be really mindful of your balance. One more breath. And start to bring your hands down to the ground, but you're going to bring them on the inside of your left foot and walk your left foot out. So creating a little bit more width. And then you could always stay here, or you can just start to play with feeling the hips shift forward. And it doesn't have to be a completely still movement. It can be like a little rock, kind of moving in and out of it. One more breath. And then bring your hips up enough so that way you can bring the left knee to meet the right. And instead of coming back towards a child's pose this time, we're going to come all the way onto our bellies. You can bring your forehead to the mat. Maybe make a pillow with your hands. Take one more breath here. Then start to bring yourself up into a Sphinx pose. Bringing your forearms onto the floor, your elbows are about underneath your shoulders. Feel like your heart is gently trying to pull forward. Your head and neck can be wherever is comfortable. One more breath here. And then release your whole upper body down to the ground. You can always rock your hips a little bit. And then start to bring your right knee out to the right side. So the inside of the leg is on the ground. And if staying like completely on your belly and doing this is not comfortable, you can always roll a little bit to the left side. So that way you're not going as deep into that stretch, especially if you're feeling really tight or tender this morning. So everything we've been doing, whether we've been sitting or standing, has all been going to support and release the back, the hips, really just the most common things that get a little achy from our day-to-day. And so even if you're thinking, how is what we're doing at the moment helping that? It's helping to stretch the inside of the leg, the inside of the thigh, which all of those muscles are attached to support our hip, which are attached to support our lower back. Just a couple more breaths here. It's okay if you feel a lot of a stretch. It's okay if you don't feel anything at all. It's okay if it's somewhere in the middle. And then slowly start to release the right leg and allow it to come back to meet the left. We'll come right into the second side. So go ahead and bend your left knee. Let the knee come out to the side. Again, you can always roll a little bit to the right side to be a little less. I wouldn't put anything underneath the knee. That's actually going to make it more. So if you want more of a stretch, you could welcome to slide a pillow underneath the knee. But know that it's going to stretch the inside of the leg deeper. And always throw a pet under there if they want to be included. Only if they can be still. And keep the upper body totally released. If you peek over at me and see that I'm up, it's just so that way you can hear my voice. So you can be totally relaxed on the floor. A little while longer here. Last couple breaths. And then start to slide your left leg to meet your right. Anything that feels good to rinse it out. Just take a pause. And then slowly pressing yourself all the way up. Come back towards your tabletop. That'll probably be the hardest. Be a little challenging at first, that's okay. Move through some cat-cows. Then you're going to come back to a seated position. But this time you're going to bring the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. Think butterfly legs. Feel free to slide anything underneath the knees or the thighs, especially if you feel like you're really holding on really hard to keep yourself here. And then start to round your spine. So it could simply be just like a rounding of the spine as you sit, as you're up a little bit more neutral, like your head is over your hips. If it feels okay, you can lean a little forward care a little bit more about the rounding of the spine here. Feel like you're trying to create a little bit of breathing room between each of your vertebrae. One more breath. And then slowly start to lift your upper body up. You can extend the legs, shake them out. And then start to cross the legs. So it doesn't matter which leg is in front. So just go ahead and cross the legs and reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And bring the arms forward and just lean forward as far as you're able to go. So your back will likely naturally round. But for this, I want you to just focus on a little bit of compression in the lower belly by pressing onto your legs. And then kind of shortening that space between the torso and the thigh. It doesn't matter how much it shortens. And then start to walk your hands over to the right. So just like we did at the beginning, except this time the legs are bent. And then walk the hands back to the middle and over to the left. Walk the hands back to the middle and bring yourself all the way up. And this time, bring your hands behind you, like you're trying to lean back into the hands, and place the feet on the floor so the knees are bent. And just go ahead and windshield wiper the legs. So it doesn't matter how far they go. Just adding a little bit of motion. And then you're going to start to make your way all the way onto your back. So whatever you want to take on the way there, whatever you need when you first arrive. You can hug your knees into your chest. Then start to hug your knees into your chest and let them drop over to the right side. So you can bring your arms into a T. Bring the knees all the way back to the middle and let them drop over to the left side. And again, it doesn't matter if the legs are actually stacked or if you cross the legs. Totally up to you. Bring your knees all the way back to the middle. Hug the knees in, squeeze them tight. And then start to find your way into your final Shavasana. So allow your legs to come out in front of you. You can always throw props underneath the legs. You could also throw your legs up on a couch or the wall. If being on your back, as always, as I always say, is not comfortable for you, feel free to find a different position, maybe on your side. You can even be on your belly. Only say maybe avoid sitting. I just feel like perhaps that's not as relaxing. But if it feels relaxing, go for it. Taking these last few minutes of class. In complete and total gratitude for your practice today. Shavasana. Starting to bring some awareness back into the space. Starting to bring some awareness back into the body. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Rolling out wrists and ankles. And rocking your head from side to side. Stretching your arms up overhead. Take a full body stretch. All the way from the fingers to the toes. Hugging your knees in and roll onto your right side. Starting to press yourself up, coming into a comfortable seat. And keeping the focus inside. Bringing your hands to your heart center, gently bow your head. Thank yourself for making it to your mat today, for your practice, for your energy, for your breath, and most importantly, for yourself. Namaste.